don't know that I can say it too much in this world and after a diagnosis, but how lucky to have a little fighter that wanted to do physical therapy and go in there and kind of show them. Our daughter absolutely despised it. Like we had to say, listen, we're going to have to live here unless you do it, and it was one of those things. And I think it might've just been, you know what, I'm going to be in control here. And if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. And, we kind of bent a little bit on it, but at the same time, without them signing off, you're not going anywhere. So,
yeah. I think it could be like an age thing too. I remember all of our nurses being like, "Oh wow, I wish you could tell some of our older kids to like get up and walk around a little bit." Every time she was there, she was obsessed with. So the floor we were on, every time you did a lap around the whole floor, you got a sticker that just said 1 lap that you got to tape on your door. And then 14 laps was a mile. So at a half a mile, you got like a 0.5 sticker and then a mile sticker. And I think her first stay, she must have done 5 or 6 whole miles of just walking. We'd go out there early in the morning. We'd stay up until 10, 11 o'clock at night. And she's just like, I want to go walk. I want to go walk. But Child Life would bring her a little grocery cart. So they would like have a little grocery cart for her, put up food just on people's desks or on little handrails in the hallway. And she would just make laps, pick up the food, toss it in the cart, tell me to go hide it for her, and she'd turn around and close her eyes. So it was more of a struggle to keep her in the room when she needed to stay in there for meds and everything. And then the couple times that she got sick and got put on precautions where it was like, hey, you cannot leave the room. I think those were actually the harder stays for her because she was so active and so outgoing with all the nurses and doctors and everything. She was like, oh, I want to go see nurse whoever. And we were like, I can't do it this time. I think that was the second bone marrow transplant. She got C. diff, and we just were in the whole time. Like, she didn't get a single lap done for that whole 3 weeks.
Yeah, C. diff is terrible.
Yeah.
And it almost is like a guarantee, I guess, that you're going to get it, kind of like the mucositis and stuff. And but yeah, it's when that first happened, and then it's okay, well, now you're quarantined and you can't leave. And I actually, when she was quarantined for C. diff, I stayed in the room for 2 days because I didn't know that I was allowed to leave the room.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in there, I've got like, granola bars and stuff. I'm like, am I allowed to go and get food? They're like, oh yeah, you can leave us. Well, that would have been nice to know, but at the same time, it's kind of weird that I'm in there with her, but I can leave and she can't I don't know. But yeah, that C. diff is just nasty.
Yeah. Our first bone marrow because we had to like wipe everything down when we're coming in. We had a whole system of like totes that we had that were just sheets for the bed and then just clothes that we kept at the hospital. So, because every time she would get a fever, we'd have to call and be like, hey, she's got a fever. They're like, all right, be here in 2 hours. So we kind of got a system down of being half packed and kind of ready to go for the last year. But that first day, she got a little bit sick and we were in and out and kind of the same thing. We were like, are we allowed to like go down to the cafeteria and get food? Or do we have to order it through the iPad and stuff? They're like, oh no, you guys are good. You can go.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a lot of misunderstanding on that situation, but when you're in there all that long and you have a system, you know what I mean? And I spoke to and I interviewed an author not a few months ago that actually wrote kind of the handbook of how how to do things. And I said, I wish I would have known all this. And, we prepared, but at the same time, it's hard to prepare for things like this, but you do get into that routine and like, okay, I guess we're going again and this is what we're going to do. And I think we had sheets and, pillowcases and stuff like that. And people would send us Amazon and while we were in there and, I did a lot of DoorDash when I was in there by myself and I didn't eat the best,
Yeah. Yeah. We did, we had a whole, like kind of a different room set up, I guess, than most. The first couple times we did it, nurses would come in and be like, oh, I've never seen anyone do this before, but we would put her bed all the way down to the lowest setting, and then where we were at was the fold out couches where it just kind of flattened out. But we also had a mattress topper that we got because the couches were just too uncomfortable to sleep on, but it made it exactly even. So every time we would go in, we'd push them both together. So we had just one huge bed in the middle of the room, and then a whole another side for her to like play and have her play mat and toys and everything. But it definitely made it easier, especially those bone marrow transplants where we weren't allowed to really like cuddle her or touch her or anything. We could still sleep pretty close next to her, still feel like we were there.
That is a great idea. And not that I want to go back and experience it again, but if I did, that, because yeah, those couches, they suck.
Oh yeah.
And the chair sucks too. I'm just gonna put it. It's not good.
Yeah, and it's the loudest chair in the world. You can't recline it without waking everyone up on the floor. And
Yeah. And yeah, I think, yeah, our first one, I know that it is what it is. They're going to come in every hour, every 2 hours and check vitals and stuff like that. And I remember the first one, my wife and I were together. And this is the only time we were able to be together because she was diagnosed during COVID. Was that I would sleep in the chair. We'd take turns sleeping in the chair next to the bed. And when the nurses would come in, I was in the most uncomfortable positions in life. Like you could feel the pain radiating through your spine. And
yeah,
I would stay still until the nurse left because I didn't want to like startle them or make them
yeah,
feel uncomfortable because they were like right here, right next to you. God, yeah, it's not, I mean, obviously it's not meant to be a hotel, but
yeah.
wow, listen, I've seen some people that do it really, really up and really big.
Mhm.
And you have to. It's essentially where they're going to be spending a great deal of time, and making them feel as homey as possible is so important.
Yeah, my wife was really big on that. We got themed sheets for Halloween and Christmas. We got a little Christmas tree that we brought in for our stay in December. Just because going into it was one of those where it's like, oh, we might be here for Christmas, we might not. It's all going to depend on how she's feeling.
Yeah. It's huge. I think more and more parents are kind of figuring that out to kind of do that same type of thing, but it's not something that's on the forefront of your mind in the very beginning of this, but then you realize it's a hospital room. It's
Yeah,
not yeah, I mean some of the hospitals, they're for kids, it's nice in there and they're painted walls and stuff like that, but you want to make it feel as comfortable as it is when it's not a comfortable time.
yeah.
So I have two questions that I want to go back, but one is a really big one, and I'm just gonna try to compare it, and you tell me if it's true. So 2 bone marrow transplants, and when they put the bone marrow back in, did it smell like cream corn?
Oh yeah, she was. So I actually wasn't there when when the whole like when the bone marrow was actually going on. I was at work, but I got a text from my wife immediately, and she goes, "Your daughter smells like corn." And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, did she have corn today?" And she goes, "No, you'll tell when you come back in the room." And as soon as I opened the door from being at work, it was like it was just
Yeah.
blown at me because all the rooms are all airlocked and everything. So it hit me in the face for sure.
I think when they were extracting them, and they told us, or they told me, they warned me. So this is normally what they say is people say it smells like cream corn. We don't know why, but what? And I said, okay, whatever. When they started putting it back in, I didn't think about it, and then I got up close to her, and I was like, wow, that's a strong one.
Yeah,
So needless to say, I can't eat cream corn anymore. But it's crazy. I don't know. I think it's the scientific answer is it's got something to do with the additives, but
yeah,
it's just weird.
yeah. It was. I had heard about it beforehand, and then yeah, she texted me that, and then coming back, I was still blown away a little bit with how heavy the smell was.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something else.
Yeah.
So I wanted to once again jump to something else that you had mentioned, and it was about her ovary being stored, being frozen
Mhm.
for future. Because that is, again, and obviously with us having a daughter as well, it is the side effects of chemo will severely impact the child's ability to have children later on in life. We were asked the same question. Our daughter was 7 when she was going through this. We declined, and that was mainly because she told us, I don't care, I'll just adopt. That
Yeah.
was her answer, so we rolled with it, and we
Yeah.
didn't want, at that point of her treatments, we just didn't want to go through something else. But was it I mean, it didn't really seem like it might have been, or it might have been, it seemed like something that was really kind of an easy choice, but was it a hard choice to think about that or to make that decision, or did it just seem like we're just going to go with that?
I think it was pretty easy, just especially because she was already getting a pretty major surgery that day that they were planning on doing. So they're like, hey, she's already going to be under. We can just kind of add this on to the surgery. And with her being so young, we were like, oh, we don't know if she will want to, if she won't want to. But if she doesn't want to, at least we have the option to down the road. But yeah, we talked about it for a little bit, and we were like, hey, like, we can't ask her if she wants to have kids when she's not gonna understand that. She'll probably think that we're talking about a baby doll or something and be like, oh yeah, I want that. I want that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was a pretty quick decision for us, but mainly because we were already doing that surgery. I think that it might have been more of a discussion if we weren't doing any surgeries coming up, where it was, is it worth it to put her through another surgery just to get her ovary and everything? But that was the main thing, was just because she was already going through it. We would just kind of add it on.
Yeah. No, it's 100% understandable. We were at a point then where there wasn't going to be any more surgeries, or at least we didn't think. So I think that kind of geared our decision a little
Mhm.
bit, was that we don't want to put her through another procedure. But in the event that they're going to be in there doing what they have to do, and if they can, do it without any added issues, then I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
Gives her that chance down the line, and if she doesn't want them down the line, then
Yeah.
so yeah, that's a huge side effect. I mean, it happens for boys too. It's not just girls, but it does affect the ability to be able to do that. And there isn't a parent that I've spoken to yet that question or that option doesn't come up. And
Mhm.
it is kind of a mixed bag of what the decision is. And it's not right or wrong either way. It's what is the best for the family and what's best for the child. But yeah, it's a big decision that has to be made, and it's unfortunate that is, again, a common side effect that we can't avoid.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that was kind of also the same day where we found out they were like, hey, she's not going to like naturally like go through puberty or anything like that. Like, this is going to change like really everything of her growing up, which was something that I don't think that we thought about right away within those first couple weeks, because those first couple weeks is more of a blur of like, how are we going to get through tomorrow? I'm not thinking about 14 years from now, but yeah, I think those two things definitely went hand in hand of like, well, if she does want it, we might as well give her the option to, for sure.
Yep. Did they give you, or did your team or anything like that give you any kind of indication of how her growth or her development or things like that may be affected? I know obviously another thing that's affected very heavily is hearing, vision loss, developmental delays, things like that. I mean, did they give you anything or idea, or maybe even based on what they've seen from the start to now, of what she may have to face growing up?
Yeah, I think hearing was a big one for sure. We did like tried to do a hearing test for her within the first couple months, and she just hated the whole test process. So I'm not sure exactly how effective that was originally. But then a couple months in, she started complaining about like things being too loud when they were definitely not too loud at all. Like just the TV in the room. She'd be like, "Oh, it's too loud. It's too loud." But it was almost off. So we started to get those concerns a little bit, but then eventually that kind of just went away, and her hearing came back to what seems to be normal. Every once in a while, we have like noise canceling, just big earmuffs for her, but she really only wants those like if there's fireworks going on outside, or we went to like an Avalanche game, and she'll want them for that. But and then vision or anything like that, we haven't had any issues with. It was something that was brought up as like kind of a possibility, but the only things that we ever came into issues with that was during like her being on pain meds and stuff. Like her ketamine at one point got up to be a little bit too high for her. She started complaining that she couldn't see, things like that. So we were able to stop that right away, luckily, and then lower the dosage for that stay. But those were definitely things that were brought to our attention. But luckily, we haven't dealt with any side effects of that yet.
No, it's there. Like I think I've said it, in the past, and that when you sign the the consent form for chemo to start or whatever, you sign a piece of paper, and 26 pages behind that is all the side effects you may or may not see or deal with.
Yeah.
And they'll list them even as possible or not as possible, or not likely, and there's a lot. And so unfortunately you're kind of on alert forever, looking at little things. And once a diagnosis like this happens, moving forward, a bruise is never a bruise and a cough is never a cough anymore. And it's that, I think, maybe one of the biggest unfortunate side effects is that you just honestly want to forget about it, especially when treatment ends. They ring the bell, there's NED, you get past that 5-year mark, all of those milestones. You don't want to be locked into it, for the rest of your life. But unfortunately, the treatments are rough, and you see that firsthand. You know what I mean? You see it firsthand. But what you don't see firsthand is those treatments and the therapies. You don't see the effects of those on TV, on certain commercials. And that's all I'll say. Because they will not call me back. But yeah, it's one of those things where I don't know, it's difficult to explain. But I think everybody in this community, I know I do, we have pictures, we have sounds, we have images, smells, whatever in our mind that are connected to this and are very difficult to kind of get past.
Yeah.
So I want to maybe switch to something that's maybe a little bit of a brighter topic, is that what you're doing to raise awareness or raise funds or things like that for Lily. So talk about Ironman, marathons, all that kind of stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, so it actually kind of started before her diagnosis. Me and my friend were going to do just a triathlon, an Olympic length one up in Boulder. And then obviously she was diagnosed, and I kind of had to stop training for all that pretty abruptly. But me and him this past month did one in Boulder. And I was like, hey, I want to do one as kind of a fundraiser specifically for Children's Hospital, just because it was such an amazing experience over the last 13, 14 months there for us. So doing the half Ironman in Boulder in 2026 as that fundraiser. But this summer I wanted to do something as kind of a boost for that, and to really just push myself to see what I could do in a shorter time. So right now I'm doing a Olympic length triathlon in 2 weeks. And then at the end of August 30th, I'm going to be doing one that's just going to be fully self-supported. So I'm going to do the swim just in a pool by my house around either the neighborhood or probably a lot further than that. Same thing with the run, but I'm doing it just strictly based off of donations. So any donation I get that ends in a 1, so it could be $1, $11, $21. I'm going to add 100 meters onto the swim. Any donation that ends in a 2, I'm going to add 3 miles onto the bike. And then any donation that ends in a 3, I'm going to add a half a mile onto the run. So with about 2 months to go, I'm sitting at a 900-meter swim, a 33-mile bike, and 6-mile run.
Wow. You know what? Kudos to you, man. There's no way I'm not running anywhere unless somebody's chasing me. And listen, that's a feat, hands down. I give it all to you. That's awesome. Number one, that you're doing that just in general, but for such a great cause, and giving people the option to really help out and push that and get involved. That's incredible.
Yeah, and I think that I wanted to do it kind of solo, not necessarily as like a bigger thing, just because I know that we had such a great community behind Lily and my family here. I mean, we had people immediately bringing us food to the hospital. Specifically, one of my friends that knows that I am just obsessed with Chipotle, instead of being like, hey, I want to buy you, like, bring you lunch or whatever, he just showed up one day with full containers of one of rice, one of beans, one of chicken, one of steak, everything. So I was able to eat that for a week straight at the hospital. And then so many people just reaching out, sending words of encouragement, all that. I just knew that we had such a strong community around us that I thought that really be something that we could kind of pull together for. I mean, obviously they already did for myself and Lily, but I think that being able to give back to Children's Hospital is a huge thing for me.
No, I think that's great. And again, if you can have that really good experience at a children's hospital, at a hospital in general, none of us can think of a great reason for us to be at the hospital. But if they can truly take care of you and be there for you and make that stay easier and a lot less stressful, listen, they need help too in order to provide the care that they can provide to our kids. Being able to give back, I think that's awesome. Do you have are you giving back to a specific department or just the hospital in general?
So I'm doing it through GoFundMe, so there wasn't any option to do like a specific department. So just the hospital in general. We were able to give. We have a bunch of medical supplies here that we're not using anymore. So all of her like feed bags, her formula and stuff, because she was put on feeds originally just because she wasn't eating or anything, but eventually she stopped that. So we took maybe 3 or 4 boxes full of stuff just back to the 7th floor there, which is the oncology floor. So we were able to give back specifically to the kiddos there and all the nurses and everything, which was great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can do that, and I mean, I know we had a lot of extra stuff too that we were able to donate to. I think we donated to a couple clinics that were close to us, but that stuff is expensive and it's definitely hard to come by sometimes. So if you can support, then I think that's phenomenal. So I mean, I'll just ask you this: what is Lily's day-to-day life look like right now?
Now she's pretty much a normal 2-year-old. She got her G tube out a couple weeks ago, so we're just doing dressings over that. But she still has her power line and everything. But she's pretty much cleared for everything except swimming at this point. She really likes her. She calls it jumping class. It goes on at the gym that me and my wife go to. It's like a kids and parent tumbling class, but she actually made her first, I would say, real friend over there. That is her age, just because over the last year she's just been with me and my wife, my parents, her parent, or my wife's parents, and then a bunch of 20 to 30-year-old nurses. So she was
Yeah.
able to actually kind of come out of her cage a little bit and make some new friends and everything. She definitely has the most energy out of all the kids in that class. Along with the friend that she made, they definitely match each other. But she's constantly wanting to go to the park by us, wanting to run around, play with our dog that we actually were able to bring back for this past weekend. We're slowly starting to kind of bring him back just because it's such a change for him as well. He's been living with my parents for the last year, so trying to kind of ease him back and everything. But yeah, she's just go, go, go all the time.
And is she just in more of like a maintenance or just kind of a watch phase right now with scans every few months, things like that?
Yeah, so she is one more round of Accutane at home, which I'm still kind of blown away that Accutane is a cancer treatment. But we have one more round of that at home, and then it's just kind of wait for her to get her power line out and then just scans. So
Well, awesome. You know what I mean? I think that, she did what you want to see with these kids, which is just power through it and not lose her personality and come out with that energy and just be a happy kid. And, obviously, this is something that she's gone through, and it's something that, I don't know how much at this age you'll remember and recall, as you get older, but she's not going to let it define her, which is what we hope for the best for these kids, that they don't let it define them and just be out there and be normal. So I'm
yeah.
happy to hear that where she's at and that she's just being a kid and running around and, just giving mom and dad a run for their money.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's great. That's phenomenal. Like I said, I jump around on this stuff. Is there anything that you want to add or cover that maybe I didn't bring up?
I don't think so. I think that one thing that maybe the other parents out there might struggle with, I know I did for like a big chunk of the last year, was especially being in the hospital, seeing kids walking around with like a broken arm or something, and then getting huge amounts of balloons and everything as they're leaving. But just kind of bringing it all back into perspective of like, hey, that might be the worst thing that kid has ever gone through. So just trying to, for myself specifically, keep it in mind that she's going through this really hard thing, and we're kind of lucky that she's taken it so well and everything. But sometimes it's just hard to see those other kids that maybe not aren't in the same boat getting all of this attention and all that. But at the same time, you gotta kind of feel happy for them, because if that's the worst thing that they're going to go through, then they're living a pretty great life. And sometimes you just have to think about that and kind of flip it around, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think that, being on that, for us, the, oncology floor and being in that wing and then walking around to do what we had to do and looking in other rooms, and you see all these other families that are just, they're facing that same, that same road and wondering, how did we get here? And how is this so prevalent? Like, and I think, in the past, I've also said things like, I think we're all guilty, and maybe I think we're all guilty of going to the hospital as a kid or even as an adult and not knowing that 6 or 7 floors up, that there's children going through something far worse than you could ever imagine. And really kind of just, I mean, I don't want to say being dense to it, but just not really accepting that it's happening. I think we've all grown up, or at least I have, watching TV and seeing those things on TV and thinking, God, that's horrible. But I hope I can't even imagine what that's like. And then you end up being that family. And that just goes along with just be good people. You know what I mean? You never know what somebody's going through. You never know how bad news that somebody just got when you're standing next to them at Walmart or whatever, and just be good people, because, and the reality of these kids, they're the ones that are supposed to take care of us. And we've got to make sure that we take care of them. So yeah, I think, I always ask at the end to, to have my guests kind of give advice to families that are out there that haven't been diagnosed yet, or they're in the process of things, or they're deep into it. What is your advice? Mine's always just be good, because you don't know what someone else is going through. So you have any other advice you would like to pass along to other parents?
I would say definitely, if you're able to, maybe start like a journal or something like that. I know that we had like a caring bridge going, and this morning before coming on, I was like, I need to go back and see kind of what was going on during this whole process. And there were a bunch of things that I completely forgot about. Like Lily getting COVID at one point, and then like the smaller things, like her taking her first steps after chemo, and kind of realizing how we felt at that point. So maybe I'd say write things down so you can go back to it in either the hard times or the really good times, and just kind of be able to experience everything again and really be able to feel all those feelings.
Yeah, I think it's great advice. I mean, I didn't write a lot of things down, but I took videos on my phone and pictures and, things like that. And I've got a lot of that. And, for our daughter, it was TikTok was her thing. And she would make me give her my phone when I would go downstairs to the cafeteria, and that was her, like, her outlet. And when she passed away, I took over the account, and then I just used it as outreach, and in a way to give back. But that was me. That was my journal, I guess you could say, is that having those videos, those memories to go back and look. And, yeah, on the good days, you can say, well, this is how bad it was. And on the bad days, you can just hear that voice, that laugh, that, whatever. And it makes a big difference. So, documenting it and things like that, whether it's through pen and paper or whether it's through social media, it's not for views and it's not for likes. It's for your own personal kind of journey to kind of write that down in your mind, because it's going to give you something later on in life. You may think this is the worst thing in the world, but I can promise you, you're going to want to go back and see the things that kind of defined and shaped your life. So that's your advice. That's my advice. Sometimes I get long-winded. I apologize to everybody, but then again, I don't. So I appreciate you reaching out and taking the time to speak with me. I'm not going to say I'm jealous about you doing the marathon, because absolutely not, but it is awesome. And I wish you all the best in that, and wish Lily all the best too. She sounds awesome, and she sounds like she's just going to continue to be more awesome. And so maybe she'll run it with you. I mean, she sounds like she's got the energy,
Oh, she definitely does. Her new favorite game is she calls it Zoomies, and she just runs around the coffee table for as long as she can.
My dog gets those and
Yeah,
tears the house up. So, but yeah, so I'm excited to, to kind of see the journey continue to move forward and to see what you're able to accomplish with everything. And so good luck with all of that. And everybody else, we'll see you all next week. But Daniel, thank you again for sticking with me today.
thank you. I appreciate it.